Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Jerry Kite, and I've been thinking about the earlier version of that last video I made about stocks, ETFs, and options, and I kind of feel like I got a bit long-winded, and so I wanted to make like a follow-up to it. I want to simplify it. So there's a lot of information in that last video. Um, So let's just break it down. You have stocks. Some people know what stocks are, some don't. A stock is simply when a company's trying to raise money and they sell shares of the company, part of the company. And oftentimes we're talking a lot of shares, but still they're worth something. And that's a great way to get started in trading. Um, how much do you need to trade? Well, how much stock do you want to buy? And how expensive. Um, I will say the first time I bought what I consider to be an expensive stock, it was, I don't know, maybe 200 or $300 a share. I was kind of scared to death, really, because I just thought, oh my God, it's so much money. But the crazy thing was, I made a lot of money off of that stock. So the key to it is it doesn't have to go up a lot to where you're making, you'll find it goes up more. That's the thing. When you have like a $5 or $10 stock, $15 stock, if it goes up a dollar, that's a big percentage based on the base value of the stock. And so if you have a $200 or $300 stock, it can climb. If it climbs 15, $20 per share, it's not a huge percentage, but if you own, say, 50 shares or 20 shares or 100 shares, whatever, starts adding up. Anyhow, I think stocks are pretty easy to understand. An ETF is simply it's like a mutual fund, but it doesn't trade like a mutual fund. That's the easiest way for me to I can think of to describe it. It's a basket of other stocks that's owned by the fund, and and that fund trades those stocks. Now, one of the reasons that you don't pay as high a commission and fees and all this kind of stuff like you do on a mutual fund. Mutual funds have a lot of hidden fees and costs. You want to be a little, you want to be knowledgeable on that and wary of it. But but with a because when you have a mutual fund, you have a mutual fund manager. And here's the real drawback I find, or I believe, that with a mutual fund, that mutual fund manager, he makes his money, his commission, if you would, is based off of how much money is in the fund. In other words, how much have people invested in the fund? It's not based on whether that fund makes any money or not. Now, of course, if it's making money, it's going to attract more people, but his commission, his bonus, whatever you want to call it, is based off of how much is in it. That's why anytime you reach out to your brokerage house or you reach out to the mutual fund, group and ask them, it's like you call your 401k person and say, hey, what do you think about this mutual fund? Oh, stay in it, stay in it. They don't want you to leave. It's just like when you go to pull money out of your 401k, man, they act like you're cutting off part of their body or something. It's pretty crazy. But anyhow, the point being is that that's how the person makes money, is how much is in it, not how much it makes. There's not a direct correlation, and that's messed up when you really boil it down. That is just messed up, at least in my book. So with an ETF, it's managed like electronically. What I mean by that is they set up these algorithms around what kind of stocks that fund is going to have, and based on their performance. So you don't necessarily have somebody sitting there babysitting it and doing the trading for you. It's all done electronically, and that's why they don't charge very much. That's why it's very attractive to a lot of people. Now, if you're thinking of buying and holding, yeah, that's absolutely one thing to consider are these ETFs. And there are a couple of mutual funds that might be worthwhile, but anyways, I'll probably do another video on that, talking about that strategy. For the most part, in this day and age, buying and holding, I mean, it just depends on what it is, what it is you want to accomplish and what your risk tolerance is. Some people just don't want to take any risk. And if that's the case, buy and hold. Again, when I do that video on that subject, it'll make sense to you. But anyhow, what happened years ago? It used to be that the CEO of a company, his bonus, his commission, wasn't based on the performance of the stock. It was based on the performance of the company. And if memory serves me right, I believe it was Bill Clinton got a law passed where he changed that. Now, maybe in his mind's eye, he thought, well, if they're focused on getting, the stock making money, that'd be a good thing. But it wasn't good for corporate America, and it definitely wasn't good for America as far as the workers. And what I mean by that is the CEOs. Think about it. If you're Mr. CEO, and if you invest the extra capital that you've made that year, if you invest it into increasing the value of your stock where your bonus is tied to, you have an incentive to do that versus, oh, I'm going to take that same money and invest it into research and development for a new product. And this, quite frankly, is why a lot of people who work in that kind of industry and those kind of businesses, that's why they haven't seen raises. That's why their pay hasn't kept up with inflation, because instead that CEO is investing that money. Now, how do they invest it? They buy back shares of their stock. If you, if you, we'll have to get into this at a later time, but if you buy shares of the stock back, which used to not be legal, by the way, but buying back those shares of stock, what happens is then the earnings per share, which is the performance criteria that a lot of people look at when they're analyzing a company's stock, looks good, meaning it makes it look like, wow, the company's really doing great and they're making money. Gee, I want to invest in that. When in reality, it's just the profit is being divided amongst fewer shares of stock. So, in other words, the CEO is manipulating the 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 earnings per share to make the stock look attractive, and this makes his bonus bigger. That's the bottom line. Meanwhile, the worker bees are just getting screwed. It's sad, but that's the truth of what's happening in America. And then, honestly, I feel like that needs to change. But anyways, so ETFs are a better way as far as if you want a safe, secure means of investing. But you need time on your side. If you're in your 60s, you're kind of past that point. If you're just now getting started into investing, I mean, you can do it, but when it comes to investing, time is critical. And if you're a young person, you really need to get on the bandwagon. Anyways, I'm going off on a rabbit trail. I'm sorry. So we talk about stocks. They're individual companies. ETFs is just a basket of stocks traded cheaply because it's electronic. It's an electronic system that's basically managing what they're in and what they're out of, and they tend to do very well, honestly. And then you have options, and options are you need to be experienced. You truly need to understand what you're doing, and I can't stress that enough. You need to paper trade that for a while. You need to paper trade your strategy. You need to be careful, and we'll go over ways to be careful with those kinds of things. Now, you can make you can make some serious money. That one trade that I made where in 7 minutes I made $3,580. That was through an option, or actually 10 contracts is what I had. And so yeah, there's good money to be made in that. But in any situation where you can make good money fast, you can also lose good money fast. That's the thing you got to be aware of. Now, are there ways to mitigate that risk, or what they call it's called risk management? Yes, there are ways to do that. And until you learn that, you don't want to be trading real money. And we'll be talking pretty soon about how to do paper trading, where you're not actually doing it on paper. It's what they used to call it. What's nice in this day and age is you're doing it electronically, and it's kind of cool, really. So it's like pretend trading, but it's a matter of you're testing the strategy that you're aligning to, and you're saying, well, does it work or does it not work? And does it work in various situations and conditions and things like that? Um, so, yeah, paper trading is a great way to get started and a great way to fine tune your trade craft. Okay, so anyway, so options is a contract for 100 shares of a particular stock. Now, there's not options available on everything, but the key to options, at least in my mind's eye, is you want to go with the major indexes and the major stocks like an Nvidia or a Tesla. Those are being traded very actively every day. And if you're going to have an option, you want that. You want volatility, and you want volume. So when you're ready to get out of it, you can. So there are other ways that you can make money with options. There's many, many ways. But the most common way or means is by, in essence, you're treating it like you're trading stocks, but you're really trading the contract. And like I said, you can make money fast. You just got to be careful so that you don't lose money fast. So those are three major securities that we're going to talk about on this channel. Um, and honestly, it's kind of like for your own good. But as you get started and you start getting your feet wet and you're doing these things, and the paper trading, you can do that for options just as well as you can ETFs or stocks. I would recommend you start off with stocks so you get a feel for what that's all about. But anyhow, we're getting ahead of ourselves. I hope this helps. I'm hoping that it clarifies if I missed anything from before. And anyways, that's the beauty of this adventure that you're on, because it truly is an adventure, and have fun with it. Um, have those little magical moments where you realize, wow, this stuff actually works, and you can make some money. So that's what everybody is now making money in stocks or trading. They call it alpha, and so we're all seeking alpha, really. So, anyways, I hope you have a great day. Talk soon.